Let's first go to a comment from King Donga Theodore. He says, do you believe that the African Union represents people? Perhaps I can add that there are people who argue that African Union as an institution is the most hypocritical institution of all time. Why? Because they prop these leaders. Most of the leaders who have been at the helm of that institution are the same leaders that we are talking about, who have been disposed by their own people. Your thoughts?
Well, in fairness to the African Union, and I'm one of those critics actually who often say that you're looking at an institution that has teeth that do not bite. And part of the reason, frankly, is because you have to look at its structure. You have to look at how it came into existence. You also have to look at the kind of powers that it does have or does not have. The African Union is not, for example, an institution that has sovereign powers, like the European Union, for example. The European Union can do all sorts of things, and in order to qualify to be a member of the European Union, by the way, you must at least be able to meet some kind of democratic threshold. Whereas, on the other hand, when it comes to the African Union membership, all you have to do is to be an independent country. Once you are an independent country, it does not matter whether you are democratic, whether you are democratically challenged, whether you are a dictatorship, or whether you are whatever you are. So the thing is, we should not necessarily blame the African institution on the basis, frankly, of what it is or it is not. Because let's face it, there is a saying that under those types of circumstances, you have to agree to go to war with the army that you have rather than the army that you wish you had.
Okay, the interesting thought. Let's go to another take here. Let's go to Barbara Heather. What is the use of the African Union when they are silent on all the things that are happening on the continent? For example, look at the floods in Zimbabwe, look at the xenophobia attacks in South Africa. They are silent, but they are quick to react to and threaten South Sudanese people that if they don't transfer power, they will suspend them.
Again, yeah, Barbara has a very legitimate point. There's no question about it. But again, as I explained a little bit earlier, you have to look at the structure. You have to look at the characteristic of the African Union. You have to look at the institution, the kinds of powers that it has and the kind of powers that it does not have. You know as well as I do that its predecessor, the OAU, the Organization of the African Union, it also came under enormous criticism. But the only difference between that earlier institution and this one is that, one, the OAU had the mandate, for example, of decolonizing the entire African continent from European colonialism and also ending the South African-based apartheid. And in fairness to the institution, it accomplished those two important things. Where it may not have done well, it is largely because, frankly, it did not have the mandate. Now, when you look at the African Union, unfortunately, it has yet to prove to us that it can really make a difference in the life of the average African. We also have to look at really what, for example, the goal of the organization, what in fact sometimes how the OAU operated. It was not allowed, for example, to interfere in the internal affairs of member countries, no matter whether a dictator was killing people, whether a dictator was hanging people, slaughtering them and what have you. It was agreed that you cannot touch a member country as long as it is characterized as quote-unquote domestic or internal problems.
Has that changed?
Yes, it has changed
In
at
what
least
way?
on paper, in the sense that right now the African Union does not have this business to deal with about not interfering in the internal affairs of a member country. In fact, it has a mandate that allows it not to be indifferent. So at least in terms of on paper, in terms of theory, it has the opportunity to make the difference. So yes, I think it is high time, for example, that in fact it should be able to go beyond simply talking the talk, so that it can in fact walk that particular talk, so that Africans can actually begin to walk the walk.